Secret but Not Forbidden, a sandersides fanfic reading, written and read by Love Living My Dreams. Roman was parting. It wasn't very princely, and he wasn't proud of it, but he was parting nonetheless. Finally he gets Virgil to go on a quest with him, and just about everything that could go wrong did. Now he was dirty and soaked and injured. I can't believe you. Why in the world would you even go head to head with a manticore? What were you thinking? Virgil mumbled as he helped Roman get to the bed in the abandoned cottage they found, their first lucky break since they left the castle. I'm telling you, Fallout Boy, I've fought more ferocious creatures than that and gotten away with barely a scratch. This one just got Just then Roman accidentally moved his foot and a vicious sting shot through his body. Virgil scowled, and he took in Roman's pained expression. Can't you just magic your injuries better? Or do you enjoy making me play nurse? Roman let out a flustered cough at the accusation. No, it's against the rules. Virgil blinked a few times in astonishment. Rules. Roman lifted his chin in defiance. Unlike my brother, I like to run a world where there is consistency and consequences. Until we get back to my room, I'll have to heal naturally. He huffed as he turned away dramatically, ready for Virgil to berate him some more. But nothing came. He turned back to Virgil and found the darker side looking at him thoughtfully. What? He demanded. Virgil shook his head and focused his attention on Roman's ankle. It's just really mature of you. In your own way, Virgil muttered, as he ever so gently inspected the wound and tested how much movement it could handle. Roman didn't realize he'd leaned in to see what he was doing until Virgil looked up and the tips of their noses came hair-widths apart. They both leaned back as fast as they could. Without another word, Virgil scrambled to his feet to get a fire started to warm them both up. Roman took the time to consider the day's events. If he was honest, most of his misfortunes, with the exception of the unexpected downpour that had forced them to seek shelter, had one and the same cause. He had been distracted. And not just today. He'd been noticing his tendency to get lost in thought when he was around a specific site a few weeks ago. I found some dry blankets, Virgil announced, not quite looking at him as he laid one next to Roman, another already wrapped around his own frame. Give me your cloak and stuff. I'll lay it out to dry. Roman really wanted to protest, but he felt that would give him away, so he just got it over with as fast as possible. And honestly, the warm blanket was worth the mild embarrassment. Virgil sat down next to him. Your horses wouldn't happen to be the kind that always return in the end, would they? Roman chuckled humorlessly. They're not supposed to run off with all our supplies while we refill our canteens in the first place. He should have tied them down better. But he had seen them brave much worse threats than a stray viper, and he'd wanted to join Virgil at the river as soon as he could. I don't get it. It's as if the entire realm... Then it clicked. Oh. Is that a good bow or a bad one? Virgil asked tensely. Roman blushed and looked back at his companion. The imagination is playing out a different story than I thought. It's forcing us to follow the narrative. His kingdom was trying to set him up. So you know what to do? Virgil looked relieved. Roman was terrified. Yes, if I am right. Well, we could be home within the hour. But everything would be different. That's great, isn't it? Virgil picked up on Roman's nervousness. Well, if he was going to risk it all, he'd better go all in. He took a deep breath and allowed his face to be soft, his eyes admiring, to show how he truly felt about his former adversary. He gently took Virgil's hand in his. "Thank you for saving me from the manticore. I am continuously astounded by your courage." Virgil blushed under Roman's praise and intense gaze, but he didn't look away. "Virgil, you are I." Suddenly Roman felt soft lips gently touch his. The moment was over so fast he almost thought he might have imagined it. But then Virgil spoke. "Me too." Roman was ecstatic. He swiftly took hold of Virgil's face and kissed him properly. And just when they parted, they heard horses outside, and a voice calling out for them. "Deus ex machina?" Virgil scoffed dryly. The grin on his face took away from it, though. "Looks like we brought the story to its desired end. So, just to be clear, you want to hear me say it, don't you?" Virgil complained. "By the gods, no. Not unless you want to. Just, we are officially dating, right?" Virgil sighed. "Yes, Princey, we're official. Now let's see about getting back so we can tell the others. Pat is going to freak." Roman chuckled and let Virgil pull him up. The men who'd followed their horses to their refuge had brought fresh clothes and some pain-soothing herbs that would let Roman get home without too much trouble. On their way, Roman thought about everyone's reactions. And out of nowhere he got an idea for an interesting once-in-a-lifetime prank. "Virgil," Virgil chuckled. "What, one kiss and you've got no more clever nicknames?" he teased. Roman chuckled. "I have plenty, don't you worry, my dark knight in patched-up armor. But I was wondering, what if we didn't tell anyone?" Virgil grew silent. "You don't want the others to know?" he asked tensely. "My dear angel of darkness, I would love to shout from the rooftops that you are mine. But what if we let them figure it out on their own?" Virgil's guarded expression immediately gave way to a mischievous gleam. "Want to make it interesting?" Roman was glad Virgil seemed on board. "I'm listening." "Whoever does the thing that makes everyone realize we're together has to plan our first official date." Roman nodded. "All right. Spit some ground rules. We can't trade a ply. Agreement doesn't count." Virgil grinned wickedly, already imagining the harmless chaos they were about to cause. "Deal." And with that they arrived at the gateway. If the others noticed the difference when they got back, none of them mentioned it. To be fair, their banter had steadily grown more and more flirty even before they confessed, so the chains might not raise any suspicion. In all honesty, it made their game more exciting. They kept pushing the line of what they could get away with. Roman especially had a blast finding excuses to get close to Virgil and touch him casually in front of the others. His favorite was when, one morning, he took full advantage of Virgil's habit to sit on the kitchen counter for breakfast. He stepped up to him and reached over his head to get in the spice cabinet. He looked down at Virgil with a pleased grin when he noticed his boyfriend struggle to keep himself from checking him out. His sleep attire was much more casual, and while he usually never left his room unless impeccably dressed and completely groomed, today he hadn't even combed his hair. Roman had found that Virgil had yet to deem any look on him unattractive, and it had done wonders for his self-image. So he let himself relax a little when it came to his appearance, and man, was it paying off. "Eres tan lindo," he whispered lowly before stepping away, leaving Virgil to compose himself. Logan, who was reading the newspaper at the table, didn't even spare them a glance. While Roman liked proximity and sweet nothings as his hints to the others, Virgil sat up innuendos and jumped on every opportunity to imply their relationship, remaining vague enough to be written off as something else. "We both know who you think is the hottest of all of us, fairest of them all, if you will. A hot topic." He grinned, turning a game of truth or dare where Patton had dared Roman to give compliment cards to decide if it best fit in his opinion, other than himself. Roman just threw up his hands and conceded. You got me there, short, dark, and handsome. The jab at Virgil's height earned him a pillow to the face, and once again they flew straight under the radar. The first real close call came from Remus. As expected, honestly. Come on, I get why you are not a fan of the classics, but Naveen and Tiana? Roman exclaimed, gesturing to the pause screen that showed of the couple in question during their first wedding. They were sitting on the floor of Roman's room, cuddling underneath the blanket fort. Virgil had ran in earlier because he'd felt an attack coming up and wanted his boyfriend with him. Once he'd calmed down, Roman had made them both comfortable and got them some comfort snacks. They're fine. Tiana and Megara are my favorite Disney ladies, and Naveen is a well-meaning airhead who can handle being humbled by a far more competent woman. But that, Virgil gestured wildly at the screen, is not the best Disney kiss. All right, then what is? Roman demanded, ready to defend this one. It was earned, it came through the magnificent outfits and the dialogue. This, Virgil purred before laying one on Roman. It was short and sweet and perfect. When Virgil pulled back, he found his boyfriend looking rather pleased with himself. What? So what you're saying is, I'm a Disney prince? Virgil chuckled. Well, Roman stole the show in a Disney production twice. And you are Prince, so... Virgil didn't get to add anything else because Roman was now kissing him. It was a happy kiss, playful and light, but also earnest and... When the door burst open, they parted ways. Remus was balancing a pile of papers, props, and fabrics related to whatever elaborate prank he'd come up with, and didn't look at them in time to see them making out. But their position was far from platonic. His eyes wouldn't. He dropped everything and ran off screeching. Rude, Roman muttered, looking at the chaos his brother left behind. Leave it. He can clean it up himself. Let's finish the movie. Next one's my pick, Virgil suggested, sitting back upright in a slightly less compromising position. Roman considered going after Remus for a second, but he'd probably come back of his own accord. And indeed, they'd only just settled back in after putting on Treasure Planet when the door flew open. See? Remus screeched, gesturing to them in their fort. He was talking to Janice, Patton, and Logan, who were taking in the scene. Did I misunderstand? Based on the description you provided, I was under the impression we would find you two, at the very least, in a state of undress. Virgil burst out laughing, while Roman gasped scandalized. I'd never, not without proper courting. Patton, did I ever ask your permission to win Virgil's affections? Pardon? Virgil asked, no longer laughing. If I were to ask you out, it wouldn't be very princely to do so without Padre's approval, Roman explained casually. Then I'd ask you for the honor of taking you on a date. Roman then turned back to their audience so he could pretend he wasn't aware of Virgil's blush. What exactly did he drag you lot here for? He asked, sounding like he didn't even care. According to him, you two were going at it, Janice drawled, narrowing his eyes at Rowan. The snake might not approve of them, but Rowan didn't really care about his opinion, so it was fine. Virgil groaned. I needed to calm down. Roman helped me out and we started watching Disney movies. We're not planning to do anything above a PG rating. Oh, well, we'll let you get back to that then. Patton smiled, though he looked disappointed. Virgil was pretty sure he was rooting for them. Thanks, Bobster, he sighed relieved as Patton ushered the others outside. Remus, get your stuff to your side of the room at least, Roman called after his brother. Remus reappeared in the doorframe with a pout. He started picking up his stuff as the door closed behind him. Suddenly he heard Roman and Virgil chuckle. He looked up and they looked a lot cozier. Roman even kissed Virgil's hair. Dropping everything once more, he jumped up and down, pointing at them accusingly. "I knew it!" he screeches. "If only your mind hadn't been in the gutter. Then it wouldn't have been so easy to keep it secret," Roman grinned, relishing just a little in his brother's frustration. "Your little son could have lost you the bet, though," Virgil countered. Remus looked lost, so Roman and Virgil explained the bet to him. "So, what are you going to do? Tell everyone we're an item? Or help us?" Remus grinned at his brother and his childhood friend. "Let's sow some chaos." Remus had a lot of fun stating the facts to the others. When they finally put everything together, their faces would be even more hilarious. For now, the others remained clueless, though. For a little while, Remus thought they'd all be old and grey by the time anyone figured it out. Luckily, they did get a clue about a week after Remus learned the exciting truth. It was the evening before the premiere of a project they'd been working on for ages. Roman was going over everything in the common area with everyone else as practice audience. Remus was playing heckler. No one asked him, he just did. He probably should have noticed Virgil tensing up with each comment, but he didn't. After Remus shouted something about a possible wardrobe malfunction, Virgil shut up. "We have to cancel. We're not ready." Everyone looked up at Virgil in surprise. It had been a long time since last he demanded skipping or postponing any type of commitment. It was always an option to him, but this wasn't a suggestion. It was a demand so strong that Thomas was actually thinking about what to tell Joan already. No one knew what brought this on or how to resolve it, but Roman was still going to try. "What do you mean? I'm sure we can see to any doubts you have and blow everyone away tomorrow." Virgil balled his fist and shook his head. "Too much can go wrong," he hissed through gritted teeth. "Certainly, but we mustn't let down our audience for mere chance of failure," Roman countered gently. "You think I'm being paranoid?" Virgil snapped accusingly. Roman looked taken aback. "Virgil, you are overreacting. I am merely trying to help." Virgil huffed, threw his hood over his head, and stormed off to his room. "Virgil!" Roman called after him, but he didn't follow him up the stairs. He remained behind until the owl cringed at the sound of a door slamming shut. The prince's shoulders slumped and his head lowered, dejected. I'm going to reread the lines again," he muttered before heading to his own room. Patton reached out to Roman's retreating frame but came up short of things to say. The silence remained until a gentle click signaled that Roman had entered his room. "That was fun," Janice muttered sarcastically as he got up, intending to talk to Virgil. "Snaky, he just had his first fight with his boyfriend. He isn't up for two lies and maybe a truth," Remus pointed out. "Just like how my bro isn't going to appreciate playing tag with me." Everyone stared at Remus, surprised he was capable of such insightful comments. "Well, that leaves us, Lo," Patton observed, looking up towards the private rooms tensely. Roman and Virgil argued a lot, even now that they were all friends. Such was their nature. But those arguments were usually loud and full of Virgil's quips and Roman's dramatics. This one was unnervingly quiet in comparison. "It would appear so. You should check on Virgil. I shall attempt to reason with Rowan," Logan suggested. Patton nodded, and together they headed to the opposing rooms. "Good luck!" Patton smiled at Logan before knocking on Virgil's door. "Virg, mind if we chat for a bit?" There was a moment of silence before the door was opened. Patton hadn't heard him walk over. Had he been by the door? The question was forgotten when Patton saw Virgil's makeup was running. "Come in, Pat," he whispered softly, though he wasn't looking at him. Rather, he was looking past him, at Logan. Once more that puzzle was put aside in favor of cheering up his kiddo. They sat on Virgil's bed. V curled in on himself and Patton Indian style. "I know I shouldn't have run off, and Roman wasn't calling me paranoid, so if that's all you wanted to say—" "Actually," Patton started, interrupting Virgil before he could even start whatever self-depreciating train of thought he was starting, "I wanted to ask you why you are so worried about this performance. It's not a big event, and we are well prepared. Remus was only trying to get Roman off balance, you know." Virgil dug his fingers in his hair in frustration. "I know, but what if it happens for real? Roman will get hurt." Patton blinked in surprise. He expected Virgil to be worried about Thomas first, and the rest of them second. Prioritizing Roman like that. Was Remus onto something? Patton always thought Virgil and Roman would make an absolutely adorable couple. Virgil sighed and wrapped his arms around his legs to pull them tightly against his chest. "Ever since you guys accepted me, I've been patching Roman up when he got bruised, and even before I tried to check up on him. It's my fault when he gets hurt, because I didn't push Thomas hard enough or too hard. Anything I do wrong ends up hurting him. He was right to hate me, and when he realizes that, I'll lose him, and then you guys will stop talking to me and—" "Kiddo, hey, you're spiraling, buddy." Logan said it was important they tell Virgil when he'd strapped in his own head and how. "Breathe." Virgil nodded and took a few deep breaths while wiping at his eyes. "Virgil, none of us would ever blame you for trying your best. Not even Roman. He knows you always act with our best interest at heart, and if you tell him you were worried for his safety, the whole thing will be forgotten," Patton assured the anxious side gently, secretly hoping that getting Virgil to open up towards Roman this way might help them get closer. Prinxiety just might set sail after all. "You think so?" Virgil asked, not convinced. "I know so. Take it from your old man, kiddo. Roman cares about you. He has a funny way of showing it sometimes, but he does." Virgil's face relaxed, his eyes softening and his lips pulling into the tiniest smile. "Yeah, I'll talk to him." Virgil nodded, getting up and walking to the door with Patton. Logan frowned, confused by the strange look Virgil had cast at Roman's door. Fearful, yet almost longingly. He must be mistaken. Emotions were not his area of expertise, after all. Instead of pondering the question any further, he turned and knocked on Roman's door. "Roman, I wish to discuss something with you." A moment passed. "It's open!" When Logan entered, he found Roman at his desk, his notes in front of him and his hands in his hair. "I can't figure it out, Logan. I turned the conversation over and over in my head. What should I have said?" When Roman looked up, it was evident to even Logan that he'd been crying, though he was doing his best to hide it. Logan sat down on the bed, his body angled towards the desk. "Virgil was not mad at you, Roman. It would seem something triggered a negative thought process in his mind which he tried to hide as not to disturb us. In doing so, though, the thoughts were not addressed and instead were left to build up tension, which got released all at once. Even if you said exactly what he needed to hear, he was not in a mind space to accept any of it. I am sure Virgil regretted what he said as soon as he said it. I theorized that he took distance in order to calm down before talking to you again," he explained. Roman nodded along to that. "So I haven't ruined everything?" he asked almost timidly. Logan shook his head. "You know I am not good with feelings, but I have observed that you and Virgil have grown close since he got accepted. Especially in recent weeks, he's calmer and less prone to negative thinking when he interacts with you. Likewise, he has clearly helped you be more focused and keep a level head, some of the time at least. You two have built something strong, and one fight like this won't end that. Roman was staring up at that again, but this time he was smiling. Truly? You believe I am good for him? Logan nodded his head, eyeing Roman curiously. He might be wrong, but it almost seemed like... By Neptune's swim trunks! Roman exclaimed wide-eyed. I thank you for your aid, Logan, but I must make myself presentable and talk to my emo post-haste. His emo? Logan almost wished he was wrong. If Remus was right in any capacity, he'd never let any of them live it down. But Roman and Virgil finding happiness with each other might just be worth it. Logan let Roman push him to the door and let himself out, as Roman was already hurrying to his bedroom. In the hallway, he found Patton being led out of the opposing room by a nervously shifting Virgil. Is Roman mad at me? He asked nervously. Of course not. He is worried about you, Logan assures his friend warmly. Virgil relaxed at that. Thanks, guys. I think we'll be fine, he told them as he headed to the door. Logan got a hint and led Patton down the hall. He heard Virgil knock at the door and call out Roman's name. If he or Patton had turned back, they would have seen how Virgil kissed Roman as soon as he opened the door. Roman kissed his boyfriend back as he walked them both inside and closed the door. Not that I'm complaining, but what if someone saw? Roman wondered, quite happily actually, with a bold gesture of affection. Virgil's role usually made him extremely cautious, which made his bouts of impulsivity even more surprising and delightful. Well, if they did, then I get to take your eye to make it up to you, Virgil shrugged. Roman chuckled. You have nothing to apologize for, mi corazon, but the thought is greatly appreciated. Want to talk about this over pizza and Disney? Virgil smiled and nodded. You picked the first movie. Logan and Patton voiced their suspicions to one another as well as Janice. All three agreed to wait with intervening and giving the two a chance to figure things out for themselves. The tipping point came when they had a scheduled meeting with Thomas to discuss an upcoming collab he was nervous about. First, Roman and Virgil weren't to be found anywhere, and then when Thomas pulled them up by force, they looked disheveled. Good timing, Thomas. 1 second later, and I honestly don't want to think about that, Virgil muttered as he straightened his hoodie and hair out. Roman looked rather sheepish as he tugged at his sash and combed through his hair. Where did you two come from? Patton asked, astonished. Imagination, Virgil huffed as he turned to Roman, avoiding everyone else's eyes subtle enough to be considered a coincidence. I told you we should have waited until after the meeting, he told him, though he didn't seem to be as mad as he was trying to be. I didn't think we'd take that long, Roman tried feebly. I did. You have no self-control. Always have to go the extra mile, don't you? Virgil pointed out. Roman looked back at Virgil now, a lot more confident. I didn't hear you complaining. He pointed out with a smirk. Virgil rolled his eyes, but stuck his hands in his pockets and looked down. I was kind of distracted, he admitted. It's no matter. We are here in one piece, and there are more urgent matters at hand. Shall we, my storming knight? Virgil sighed dramatically. You are lucky you are so cute. Everyone in the room looked on incredulously. How are these two so clueless? When the meeting ended, Roman and Virgil picked up their hike where they left off, on a blanket on the top of the hill, ignoring the sunset in favor of making out. They need help, Logan, desperately. I'm all for letting my kiddos take their time, but this is too much. They are obviously in love, Patton pleaded. Even I can stand watching them make eyes at each other any longer. Virgil is taken with Roman, and Roman appears to be returning those feelings. Janice admitted reluctantly. Virgil's eyeshadow had been lilac more often than not when around the creative side. Only a complete idiot would keep denying it at this point. Told ya, Remus grinned. Okay, fine. So, how do we go about setting them up? Logan relented. Remus giggled manically. This was going to be so good. We make them spend time together. They have to realize they are meant for one another if they spend time one-on-one, Patton exclaimed. But they are already together most of the time, Logan objected. They are always working, though. We have to pull them out of their comfort zone. Janice and Logan exchanged looks. I'll give an example, Patton decided. Kiddos, would you come down, please? Roman and Virgil appeared almost at once, side by side, smiling brightly at Patton, Virgil's eyeshadow bright and shiny as any of them had ever seen it. Sup, pups? Virgil asked casually. Family picnic. You two take care of desserts. Patton grinned brightly. Me and the others are going to put a basket together. Kitchen is all yours. And before either of the happy couple could respond, Patton had rushed Janice and Logan out, followed closely by Remus. Have fun, you two! The green twin winked before rounding the corner. Are they seriously setting us up? Roman whispered in astonishment. That's hilarious, Virgil grinned before turning to the kitchen counter where a cookbook laid open on a cake recipe. Think you can handle this clever scheme, oh unconquerable prince? He teased. Oh, ye of little faith, it is I who shall thaw thine frozen heart with true love's kiss, Roman grinned back. Do you think they've confessed yet? Patton wondered as he paced nervously in Roman's room 10 minutes later. The room calmed him down mostly, but not near enough to be considered calm. Let's find out! Remus exclaimed. Before anyone could stop him, he was gone. That'll end well. Janice groaned as he followed behind with Patton and Logan. To everyone's surprise, they found Remus watching the kitchen rather discreetly. They joined him and were left speechless. Roman and Virgil were both wearing aprons and chef's hats that matched their styles perfectly, both disregarding their usual top attire for simple t-shirts. Which was a good thing because there was an abundance of flour, chocolate, and eggs all over them. Virgil was currently scolding Roman, who was trying to take the mixing bowl from him. Neither was cross with the other, though. In fact, both were nearly dying of laughter. Truth! Roman called out as he managed to get a hold of himself. Let's compromise. Lest we get poorly mixed batter added to our canvases. How about I show you what I mean? Virgil relaxed his protective hold on the bowl and let Roman step behind him. Roman adjusted Virgil's grip and laid his hands over his, aligning their arms. He gently guided Virgil in mixing the batter. See? Roman asked slowly after a bit. Wait, almost. Show me that last bit again? Janice corked the bar. That was a lie. And if that was a lie, then Virgil just wanted... Oh boy, his reign of stormshine had it bad. Patton was nearly vibrating. Surely they'll realize. And there. Now it can be baked and we can get clean, Roman declared, satisfied as he stepped away. Virgil nodded and sighed in relief. Finally, I'm more beat than the batter, he joked. Roman snorted, but he wasn't the only one. Oh, hey, Padre, Roman greeted innocently. The cake will be done soon. Logan was up next. He reasoned that the key was physical proximity. He had observed that as light as the two acted about it afterwards, it had clearly gotten to them. Remus suggested locking them up in a closet until they made out, but Logan was sure he could be more subtle than that. What? But organizing the thoughts is your job, Roman complained. It is, and I apologize. I have been falling behind on my duties. Please, I am sure that if the two of you work together, it will be done quickly. Both Roman and Virgil sighed. They knew this was a setup, so they'd get away with more flirty behavior. But it was also work, and the room where the thoughts were being kept was so full of cabinets and boxes that it was nearly impossible to move around it on your own, let alone. Oh, if Logan thought that he was being more dignified than Remus would be by disguising it as an accident, he was wrong. Roman wasn't even surprised to hear the door click shut as soon as Logan was out of earshot. He was surprised to find that Logan had arranged the cabinets and boxes in a manner that would make them topple over and trap him and Virgil on the ground. Virgil in his chest as he pushed Roman to the ground, and Roman's arms wrapped protectively around his body to cushion his fall as much as possible. They were stuck in that exact position for as long as Logan deemed necessary. Do you think either of those schemes would have worked if we weren't already dating? Virgil wondered. Roman thoughtfully played with the hairs on the base of Virgil's skull for a bit. Not sure. We can both be stubborn. I'm kind of glad that I'll never know, he confessed. Virgil sank deeper into his embrace. Me too. It wasn't as fun as the baking scheme, but it was nice to cuddle with nothing else to do. Virgil usually got fidgety after a few minutes, even if he wanted to stay forever. Roman wasn't much better at staying still, but this might just convince the both of them to do this more often. I don't hate this, Virgil sighed after laying in silence for a while. I do make for a handsome pillow, Roman joked as he pulled Virgil in closer. You do, but I mean, usually silences are terrifying to me. But this, I don't mind. I don't worry about what you're thinking or that I'm supposed to say something. It's just us, and that's enough. You know what I mean? Roman thought it over for a moment. Yeah, I do. This is as close to perfect as life is going to get, he sighed contentedly. It was something close to 30 minutes before they heard the door open, and a moment later the room rearranged itself. Tell me this isn't something we could have done this entire time, Virgil groaned as he got up, not showing his reluctance to do so. This is Logan's domain. He maintains order in here. I have no power. Roman huffed, pretend offended. He was less successful in hiding how perfectly content he'd been with their predicament. Indeed, I do, Logan agreed, flanked by Janice and Patton, who both saw the look on Roman's face. Again, they were proven right in their suspicions, but no real progress had been made. What would it take? Logan apologized for their predicament and assured them that he would complete the task. If they'd bought into the ruse for even a second, this would have definitely tipped them off. Suddenly he was fine with being behind? No way. But they let Logan think he was successful, at least in hiding his intentions. Janice's initial idea was to simply impersonate either of the boys and using that form to get the other to confess. He never tried, and if he did, he wasn't found out almost right away. So his second attempt, he didn't disguise himself or his intentions. Not to Roman, at least. What exactly are your intentions with Virgil? Roman looked up from his vanity, comb still in hand. After what you tried to pull yesterday, I'd say you know what my feelings are. As for my intentions, I won't do anything that'll make him uncomfortable. Don't you worry, he said as he returned his attention to the mirror and hummed, Once Upon a Dream. So you are in love with him, Janice drawled, studying his nails, though he glanced up to see Roman's face flush. Well, the prince hesitated for a moment, but then a blissful smile broke free, and he leaned back with a sigh. Yes, he confessed dreamily. So tell him. It was not that hard. He was the romantic side, wasn't he? Shouldn't he be all for grand gestures like this? Roman pursed his lips and shook his head, sitting up again and returning to his beauty routine. I'm waiting for the perfect moment. Their first official date, actually. If the others hurry it and put the pieces together, they might be able to go on one for their 2-month anniversary. He might already have something planned out. He had little doubt he'd be the one to correct first. I thought you'd say that. Come on, he's waiting. Roman shut up. What was Jenna's planning? The serpentine side led him to the imagination, where a theatre was set up. They entered stage right and found Virgil was waiting on stage. What is this about, Jan? The emo growled, eyes darting towards Roman and to the audience. Patton and Logan, who looked about as confused as Roman felt, Remus was behind them, just munching on popcorn. Remember the Valentine's Day episode? Janice asked. Everyone nodded, still confused. Well, Virgil never got around to showing you all how he'd go about wooing someone, so I figured he could show us with Roman and as an example crush. Thomas is getting ready to ask Nico to be his boyfriend. Might as well have all the possibilities out there. Direct, from the heart, grand gesture. You two have already shown that my methods of evasion and deception won't work on Nico. He seems to find Thomas charming when he is honest about his flaws, so we aren't even going there. Virgil, you have the floor. Janice smirked smugly before getting off stage and joining the others in the audience. Virgil took in a deep breath and glanced up at Roman as he let it all out. Clearly, he was nervous. Okay, so first, he took hold of Roman's hand. And it wasn't the first time. This shouldn't be a big deal. But doing it in the open, with this unexplained tension in the air, and his own confession in his head, it made Roman beyond flustered. Is this okay? Roman pulled his eyes away from their joined hand and Virgil gave his a squeeze, looking at his boyfriend's face instead. He looked so nervous. Of course, he sighed breathlessly, smiling warmly at the boy who completely owned his heart. Good. Roman, you know I blow at putting my thoughts in words, but this is something I need to say, because just showing you feels like it isn't enough. Virgil took in a deep breath and tugged at Roman's arm, turning him to face him. I like you, he murmured, looking down. I like everything about you, even the parts that drive me nuts. I like the way I feel around you. I like arguing about stupid things and laughing about it later. I like making messes with you and not worrying about cleaning it up. I like how you make me forget how scared I am sometimes. I like being myself with you and feeling like that's enough. Virgil might have had a lot more to say than that, but Roman wasn't giving him the chance. He pulled Virgil in and kissed him soundly. Virgil didn't even pause before returning the kiss. There was a light wolf whistle. Remus clearly, but other than that, complete silence. After an infinite moment, they pulled apart and smiled at each other. You can't say things like that and expect me to just not kiss you, mi amor. Roman could hear the loud gasps from their audience. We're official, Roman confirmed excitedly before returning his attention to Virgil. And that means I shall be planning our first date. Be ready at 6 this evening. We're something semi-formal. No ties, no monkey suits, but something nice. Understand? Roman checked, not wanting Virgil to worry too much about what to wear. Virgil nodded. I think I can do that. Roman turned back to their audience. I almost forgot. Padre, may I take Virgil out? Patton was still in shock but nodded. Of course, have fun. Told you all, Remus shouted, satisfied. How long? Janice demanded. Not a fan of secrets he isn't privy to. Almost 2 months, Virgil smiled, making everyone go back in their head and see their interactions in a new light. They could see the moment they thought, how did we not figure this out? Crossed their minds. Oh, they'd been right. This was hilarious. Roman chuckled before stroking Virgil's hair from his face. As much as it pains me to part, my darling, I must prepare for your evening. Wait, you two are boyfriends! Patton exclaimed, vibrating with excitement as that discovery finally fully registered. He jumped out of his seat and rushed over to the stage to hug them. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy and proud, he gushed. Both of them chuckled. Well, why I wish we had not wasted time on attempting to help you. I too am glad that you have found happiness with each other. Logan allowed. Janice remained stubbornly silent, realizing Remus had known and hadn't told him. Thanks, guys. That means a lot. And we're just messing with you guys. We weren't keeping it a secret because we didn't trust you, Virgil assured them as Patton finally let go and Roman put an arm around his waist, both excited that they could now do this in public. Oh, you rascal, you really had us good. You have to tell me how you got together now, though, Patton insisted. Perhaps once we return from our date, Padre, which I'll have to start preparing for, Roman reminded them reluctantly. He let go of Virgil's waist and took his hand to place a kiss on it. I will count the minutes, he muttered to his knuckles, and exited stage left. It took everything Virgil had not to start squealing. OMG! We are going to pick out an outfit! Patton giggled, dragging Virgil along. I'll lend you a hand. Obviously, I have the most style, Janice insisted as they too left the theater. Logan sighed as though resigning himself to his fate. Roman is bound to skip over practical details. I'd better ensure the date is a success, or we'll never hear the end of it. Just admit you want to be part of it, nerd. That's what I'm doing. Remus grinned as he pulled Logan along, and so the theater was left to fade away, its purpose fulfilled in an unexpected way.